Donald Trump is plummeting to new lows. Let's talk about his poll numbers dipping below 37% approval. And then when you look at party identification across the country, you see Democrats up 7 points versus Republicans in terms of what Americans identify as, and you'll see a massive vibe shift and surge that just took place in 2025 quarter three. I mean, what's happening in quarter three? Well, Donald Trump's fascist plans are coming into full fruition as he's destroying the country bit by bit, as Americans are unable to afford groceries, unable to afford rent. And Donald Trump says, don't worry, we're in a golden age right now. No, we're not, Donald Trump. People are absolutely suffering. You've broken every single promise. And of course, yesterday we saw Donald Trump spending his time during a government shutdown, which will likely be the longest government shutdown in American history. Trump spent the day wrecking, demolishing, decimating, defacing the White House, right after Donald Trump promised that his golden ballroom would in no way impact the existing structure of the White House. Donald Trump brought cranes and bulldozers to literally tear down the east wing of the White House. Take a look at what it was looking like yesterday into the evening as well. When the demolition crews finished, they had almost entirely ripped apart that east wing. A reminder, back in September, Will Scharf, the White House staff secretary, who also claimed to be the head of the President Commission on National Capital Planning, said there's actually no jurisdiction of the National Capital Planning when it comes to things like this. We deal with vertical buildings, and so tearing down and ripping apart the White House is actually not within our jurisdiction, which again is a total lie. I've been screaming over and over again, there needs to be lawsuits that are brought against this. It's a clear violation of the laws, calling for this National Capital Planning Commission and the process that you need to go through, and Article 1 of the Constitution. After this video, check back in about 90 minutes on the YouTube channel. I'm going to give the roadmap for what the lawsuit would look like against Donald Trump to try to block the remainder of this teardown of the White House. As my friend Don Winslow posts as well, the economy is collapsing right now for most Americans, okay? And it's not being reported as it should be, but it is being reported the right way on the MeidasTouch network. Corporate news will give Donald Trump a pass that no president has got in the history, but if you look at the real data anywhere, the data that still exists. Let's not forget that Donald Trump's using the government shutdown to stop publishing Bureau of Labor statistics. They're not publishing jobs data. They're not publishing inflation data. They're not publishing any of the data that we're used to receiving. It's Donald Trump's view, right? If you don't test, then who knows if you really have the illness or the sickness. If you pretend people aren't dying, then just pretend it doesn't happen and don't report the problem. Well, this is all going to result, in my opinion, in a massive, massive crash. And I just want you to think about this. We went from 1 year ago, The Economist, under former President Biden. It's not exactly a liberal publication. The Envy of the World, America's Economy, a special report. The envy of the world. And now where I think we're headed is what was reported in The Economist yesterday. A market correction of the same magnitude as the dot-com crash could wipe out over $20 trillion in wealth for American households, equivalent to roughly 70% of American GDP in 2024. This is several times larger than the losses incurred during the crash of the early 2000s. It seems that's where we're headed right now, because all of the reports of what's actually happening with Americans shows that this is what's going down. I can't believe there are still people like this out there, like the owners of Merriweather Farms after Donald Trump saying that maybe we should just also get our beef now from Argentina to try to lower the beef prices. Everybody knows that Argentina has major issues with their beef as well. It's susceptible to certain types of worms that can be very harmful. This is what Merriweather Farm says. Dear Trump, we love you and support you, but your suggestion to buy beef from Argentina to stabilize beef prices would be an absolute betrayal to the American cattle rancher. We understand there are large economic and geopolitical dynamics at play, including countering CCP influence in countries in our hemisphere. Just pause there, idiots. You know, Argentina is working with CCP. They're giving their soybeans to China. Like, what are you talking about? But the practice of solving problems over there before solving problems here on our soil is what's contributing to the downfall of our country. American always comes last. We understand beef prices are high and we admire your concern for all Americans. But this is not the fault of the American producer. This is the fault of politicians who have allowed BRICS-aligned entities to dominate the meat industry that participate in price fixing and who also continually lie to their consumers. As this one account says, we love and support you, traitor killing our business. I mean, what are you doing, people? Like, you realize he's destroying you. He hates you. Like, do you get that he absolutely hates you and thinks you're dumb and stupid? And he's built Club Rose Garden for his billionaire friends, and he's tearing down the East Wing to do ballrooms for his billionaire friends, that he's giving $40 billion bailouts to Argentina while screwing you over. And by the way, U.S. banks are hunting for collateral to back 20 billion of that Argentina bailout. I guess the part that's not the currency swaps. Yes, we're struggling to put together a $20 billion loan to Argentina without leaving themselves on the hook to the virtually bankrupt South American country. I thought you all said that Javier Milei was doing a brilliant job. Isn't that what you said? That he was so smart and he was going to turn the country absolutely around. Quite the contrary. Meanwhile, Miami-Dade residents oppose Trump presidential library land giveaway. As it's being reported by WLRN and NPR, an uproar continues against the land giveaway for Donald Trump's presidential library in downtown Miami. A new local poll shows that opposition isn't exclusive to those aligned with Democrats. The political research firm Bendixson and Amondi polled 600 registered voters in Miami-Dade County on a variety of local and national issues. They range from different political parties, age, and tax bracket. While Republicans and Democrats diverged on a number of issues highlighted in the poll, it goes on to say that voters on both sides of the aisle largely agreed that land owned by Miami-Dade College should not have been given away to a future presidential library. In late September, Miami-Dade's College Board of Trustees voted unanimously to convey a plot of college-owned land next to the historic Freedom Tower to the state of Florida. That same day, the state officials announced their intention to give the land over to the Presidential Library Foundation to build a library in honor of Donald Trump. It goes on to say how the land is valued at around $67 million, but New York Times said the property could sell for $360 million on the market. That's basically just taken and snatched away from the Miami-Dade College by Donald Trump. You look across the world right now as well. You have the Dutch General Intelligence and Security Services and Military Intelligence Services not providing intelligence to Donald Trump anymore. You've got Donald Trump posting the following fake images from the Homeland Security account. Update. The Colombian president claims one of the narco boats destroyed by the U.S. Naval Task Force was just poor Colombian fishermen. Does this look like poor fishing boats? It looks like he had cocaine that attracts tons of fishes. Colombian president is a liar. As the fact check showed, this is a cropped photo from a 2024 drug bust by Spanish forces that occurred 500 miles off the Canary Islands. The photo does not pertain to the current operation in the Caribbean by the U.S. Naval Task Force. Just more lies over and over again. Also, one of Trump's library funds has mysteriously dissolved, but a lack of transparency keeps the public in the dark, as reported by Open Secrets. Florida officials have administratively dissolved a nonprofit fund connected with Trump's planned presidential library because it failed to submit a mandatory annual report, according to government records reviewed by Open Secrets. The Donald J. Trump Presidential Library Fund, created December 20th, 2024, says that 6 days after ABC News agreed to make $15 million charitable contribution to Trump's presidential library effort, that fund is now inactive per records held by the Florida Department of State's Division of Corporation. So what, $15 million? Has just gone missing. Also yesterday, Donald Trump was asked by a reporter, why are you tariffing Australia when there's a massive trade surplus with Australia? Would you consider lifting the tariffs against Australia? To which Donald Trump starts to lie and says that he solved 8 wars. Here, play this clip.
Given the trade surplus that the US enjoys with Australia, would you consider lifting the tariffs that you've imposed on Australia? And can you give us any details about the critical...
Yeah, well, the tariffs have been amazing because, tariffs have been really a reason that I was able to settle almost all of the, I've settled 8 wars in 8 months. Not bad. I have 1 more to go. It's Russia, Ukraine, and I think we'll get there, but it's turned out to be nasty because you have 2 leaders that truly hate each other. You can't have it all, right? They hate each other beyond all else, and it makes it actually a little bit difficult. But we try, of the 8 deals, I would say because of tariffs, 4 or 5 of them were settled. It's an amazing thing, the power of tariffs in terms of our country. But tariffs have always been used against us. We never use them against anywhere else. And now you have a president that for national security reasons and other reasons is using them. And we've become a very rich nation again and a very secure nation again. But we've also become a nation that used that power of tariffs and the power of trade to settle 5 of the 8 wars that I said. I settled 8. I'm very proud of that. Nobody else has settled 1. I don't think there's been an American president that settled 1. I think there probably hasn't been outside of the 2 countries involved or however many are at war. I don't think there's ever been an outside country that settled a war, period. So I settled 8 in 8 months. I'm proud of that. Now, in the meantime, I'm running a country that's right now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We were dead. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country in the world, economically and otherwise. So, but I will say this, Australia pays very low tariffs, very, very low tariffs. In fact,
and then Donald Trump said the following about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Trump says it doesn't even affect us in any way. This isn't a big deal for us. Here, play this clip.
It's a bloodbath. It's the worst since the Second World War, the worst number of people. And, it doesn't affect us in any way. We don't pay anything because now they pay us for the weapons that they get. The NATO is paying us for the weapons, as you know. It doesn't affect, I guess you could say that's a positive thing. They pay us, but I'm not interested in that. I did straighten it out.
Finally, I want to continue to bring attention to what's going on in Alaska after the horrific typhoon ravaged western Alaska. Last May, the Trump regime canceled a $20 million flood protection grant for that native area, calling it wasteful DEI spending. This typhoon that hit recently is now displaced. Now it's over 2,000 residents in the area. And once again, it could have been avoided, but the Trump regime says way too woke. We'll keep you posted throughout the day here on the MeidasTouch Network. Check back in 90 minutes. Check back in 3 hours. I'm going to keep doing videos as I always do every 90 minutes here, but a lot of important updates, especially this morning. So hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. We appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.